So I actually had an experience with anxiety, with mental health troubles. And I woke up one morning with what felt like a heart attack. It was a panic attack, but it felt like a heart attack. And I think that probably a lot of people experience this who have anxiety. I didn't know what to do. I ended up calling a neighbor, it's a friend, neighbor. She came and sat with me for a few hours, and I ended up actually calling the ambulance because I thought something really bad was happening. And it happened again the following week. Something really important, I think, happened to me in that year, which is that I started to think a little bit more clearly about what mental health is and what the importance of good mental health is. And I had just been beating myself up until that point. I'd just been, DJing late at night, drinking too much, not really looking after my body. I was feeling quite still and like in stasis through my PhD, because it wasn't, it's one of those things that's so far in advance that you don't feel like you're moving very quickly, and actually just wasn't looking after myself. And I think that something happened in those years that really allowed me to kind of think, to start to know myself even better. And it sort of pricked open this kind of thing in my mind. And I'm, as much as it was terrifying, I'm kind of glad that it happened, because actually I feel a lot more kind of direct empathy with people who are also suffering from mental health issues. And it's thankfully something that's really not kind of continued. Like, it's something that I've been able to, deal with through good, healthy habits and getting reasonably good night's sleep. Although, in the middle of
not in this heat,
London, I'm not sleeping at all. So maybe I'll have a panic attack this weekend or something. But it is actually something that did actually help me a little bit. And I've been through a few things, loss of a parent and a few bits and pieces. But yeah, I mean, I think that we should be examining ourselves. Like, we should really look at ourselves. And something also happens when you start a solo business is that you really analyze yourself. It's like one of those, it's a real exercise in self-analysis. Maybe I should go to therapy a little bit more.
More than just to doing the photo shoot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But, I think because when you do things that are public facing, when you either speak on a podcast or put together a website or have an Instagram account and actually then, reiterate your ideas on a regular basis to your clients and those sorts of things, you really do start to kind of get an understanding of that. Also, I teach at university, which means that I'm kind of I'm on in front of my students, and I've got to perform in a certain way and say certain things. And yeah, so I think maybe that's kind of where it comes from.
Well, during that time, reflecting on it now, what was it you learned about Tom?
Don't take him for granted. I was, you can play hard a little bit when you're younger, but as you get older, it's a little bit more tough to play hard and then be okay the next couple of days. And also that I need a direction. I need a thing to do, because I think what happened is my 20s, I had direction. I had projects I was working on. I was curating exhibitions. I was running galleries. I had always something to be working on. Incredibly, I'm going to use the word entrepreneurial in inverted commas just to say wasn't an entrepreneur, but I was entrepreneurial. And then through my 30s, everything stopped, and I just focused on the PhD and the DJing, because the DJing was the small amount of money every week. It was a nice way to make some money, but it was the PhD that I was doing, and I was teaching alongside that and so on. But basically nothing changed for 8 years. So all of my 30s, and your 30s are really a period of time where you're meant to be building. You're really, I think you're kind of in that age where you're young enough that you've got the energy, you're old enough that you've got the smarts, and you should be able to start building something. And look, if I'd have stayed purely in academia, then the PhD would have been the right thing to do. But academia absolutely collapsed around me over those 8 years. So it just felt like I was just in stasis. So now that I've got the business, actually that's given me a real kind of purpose, a real purpose and a real direction. And having that, it may be that there are certain types of goals, like financial goals, or it may be that there are emotional kind of, life goals that I want to achieve, or things that, like we talked about, like having a damn good time with someone in the studio and enjoying your time working. So those sorts of things are, important to me. So it's actually really changed me in a way that, actually starting a business has changed me significantly because it's allowed me to have those kinds of goals.